Morning. It's Tuesday. Today is December 17th, and I hope everybody had a good weekend. I know I did. Had a busy couple days in the shop, Friday and yesterday. And we'll take a look at that here in a minute. But before we do, mail call! What is that? What is that, you ask? How about Peak Cycles bandanas? Peak Cycle koozies? Compliments of my good buddy Nick, also known as Wiggles or Mr. Voodoo. We will touch more on that on Friday. I've officially dubbed Fridays as Affiliate Fridays, where we will highlight someone in the industry who supports bike life, whether a small business or a big shop. Open up the Peak Cycles YouTube channel a little bit and have some fun with that. Meanwhile, I said I was going to get back on frames, and that I did. It was an assembly line type of day where it was cut, bend, roll for multiple frames. Again, these are for Eric Soriano up in Northern California from Imperial Cycles. Let the cameras roll, and so let's just go ahead and jump right into that, see what's happening with Peak Cycles. So Eric does a really nice job of providing these one-to-one scale illustrations. This is basically the same frame I showed you last week, except for he pulled the rear wheel up, giving it a shorter wheelbase. I still need to figure out the angles and radiuses and miters and things like that, but this gives me a nice start. Also keeps things proportioned. First thing we're going to do is roll some sticks. The top tube there requires a roll, as well as the center tube coming down here. This is all 1.5" triangle, so we're going to switch the dies out on the roller right now and get things started. So I basically rolled enough for 2 frames. Eric ordered 2 frames. I know I need 30 inches for each top tube, which would include the coping for the head tube. So I went ahead and marked the center there before I rolled anything. I also marked the ends of 5 inches, which is basically the play between the center rollers and the outside rollers where it doesn't roll. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these down now. Moving on. So here we have the top tube. Plenty of material up front to cope in the head tube there and to miter the down tube. Keep in mind this is all done manually, so anytime you hit a roll like this, it's about as close as it's going to get. Last week we also talked about walking. Let's go ahead and throw this up on the table and see how we're looking. Beautiful. Somebody mentioned last week they'd like to see this thing in action. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but here it goes. Basically, you feed in your stick through one end here. And I like to move the bottle jack down to where it's just resting on the stick. Barely resting. And that's when I start counting my pulls. I mentioned last week that with each pull, the increment's a little more consistent than the manual pull that you get with the Harbor Freight. So, that's basically one pull. I like to hold the other end, and that's to keep it from walking. Not putting a lot of pressure on it, just enough to keep it from moving around. That's basically it. Once it passes through, you move your drive motor to go to the other direction, give it another pull. And repeat. And so there we have a couple center seat tubes ready to go. That's it for the roller. Onto the JD squared. Once again, all the food groups are represented. Meanwhile, Eric talked me into a 3rd frame, which this is a good time to do it because I am assembly line cutting, bending, rolling for 2 frames, so I went ahead and did a 3rd. Still have one more bottom tube to do. I'll knock out in the morning, but we are done for today. There you go. Save the best for last in those single piece compound bend loop tails. Not that often I get to run multiple frames of the same specs. In other words, even with my own frames, I'm usually fabricating to the geometries of the new owner, whether it's the inseam or different components being used or different wheel and hub sizes. In this case, Eric said they're all the same, run them all the same, which is fantastic when you're setting up your tools. You can leave the same dies in your bender, or leave the same angle on your notcher, and boom, 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 knock them out. So today I'm going to concentrate on the triangles, plenty of coping and notching there. I've had people chime in asking what type of notcher I use, so I'll be using that plenty today. I may sneak in on those loop tails. The curiosity is killing me. I still need to figure out the numbers on that, so we'll see. Meanwhile, that pretty much wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed today's version of what's happening at Peak Cycles, and until next time, make it a killer day.